In today's breaking news, the US SEC has just been curbed, pushed to the sidelines hard by the US Supreme Court. This is massive news. Things have never looked worse for Gary Gensler and his SEC, and at the same time, things have never looked better for Ripple and XRP in their own lawsuit. This article here reposted by the Crypto Barbie states that an XRP explosion is looking near as little developments set Ripple for a very big win in the XRP lawsuit. In summary of this article here, it basically states that both the SEC and Ripple have had wins and losses in the legal procedure. The recent court ruling found that XRP is not a security. All class actions for Ripple were dismissed, but there is still one more hurdle for Ripple to overcome, which is the California ruling, which is claiming that XRP is a security and that Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse lied. The bottom line though is that Ripple's position has never been stronger and their victory and settlement deal has never been closer. At least that's what I thought until the US Supreme Court just put their middle finger up at the SEC. They are tired of Gary Gensler. As we can see from Bloomberg TV here, the US Supreme Court curbed the SEC's ability to press complaints before in-house judges, saying defendants have a constitutional right to make their case to a federal judge when the agency is seeking financial penalties. This is huge news. Take a listen.
We do want to get back to more breaking news from the Supreme Court. The decision coming down that it's curbing the SEC's use of in-house judges in fraud cases, that it backs the right to jury trial for some SEC defendants. Joining us now with more is Bloomberg Balance of Power co-host Kaylee Lines in Washington. And this certainly seems like a blow to the SEC.
It is indeed, Katie. The SEC uses this in-house tribunal system to try hundreds of fraud cases a year, and now that power is going to be pulled back by the highest court in the land. Essentially, what the Supreme Court has decided here is that those fraud defendants do have a right to a jury trial rather than being tried by the in-house judges at the SEC. And this potentially is removing a key enforcement mechanism for the Securities and Exchange Commission under the chair, Gary Gensler. This will very much change the way in which the SEC conducts its enforcement actions and cases. And this is not the only decision that the Supreme Court has to decide within the next few days as we reach the end of the term here that could affect the SEC. Not only does the court potentially have the power, as they did today, to deal a blow to the in-house judges and the way the SEC does business in that case, we are still awaiting a verdict from the court on the Chevron doctrine. This is something that essentially gives agencies, including the likes of the SEC and the EPA, the leeway to read law that is unclear in the way the regulators choose. If they pull that back, that would significantly restrict the ability of these agencies to do so. So we're still awaiting that decision. But of course, we got the SEC curbing the in-house use of judges in SEC fraud cases today. And that's not the only one. The Supreme Court also has rejected the opioid pact with the billionaire Sackler family that was in control of Purdue Pharma. They, of course, had said that they would give up control of the company and pay a $6 billion fine. But the court finding today that improperly shields them. The Supreme Court also has blocked the EPA's good neighbor ozone rule. And I would remind you, we still have about 10 cases that the court has yet to decide, Katie. And of course, Bloomberg yesterday got its eyes on a yet to be released final opinion that had the court backing emergency abortions in Idaho. So a lot of news from the high court here in Washington today.
This is absolutely massive news. This sort of outcome is, well, only reasonable. It seemed inevitable, but at the same time, considering Congress has issued warning after warning, letter after letter to the SEC, but never taking action, of course there was a belief that Gary Gensler would get away with his tyranny once again. But it seems that his 9 lives have finally run out, as the US Supreme Court may remove a key enforcement mechanism for the SEC, stopping their regulation by enforcement and their egregious oversight. According to Finance News, Gary Gensler on his agenda. If the courts adjust, we adjust. But this is far from the case. Gary Gensler could not be more delusional, more wrong if he tried. As Ripple CLO Stuart Oldrotty states here, the courts aren't adjusting. They are finding that you are breaking the law time and time again by exceeding your statutory authority. The faith in the SEC has never been lower. They have done everything in their power to harm investors instead of protecting them. Investors and industries need a steady hand at the helm of our financial markets, and it's clear that Gary Gensler is not up for the job. And now Gary Gensler has lost huge cases before the Supreme Court. Adding that to his growing list of disastrous failures, time is running out. Gensler's got to go. Take a listen. So this is a massive win for the crypto industry, and this will have a direct impact, cause and effect on the Ripple outcome in their own lawsuit. Keep in mind, of course, though, that we are only where we are at right now thanks to Ripple and XRP fighting this corrupt agency for over 3 years. But now we can see the light at the end of the tunnel. The final judgment is closer than ever, and should the Supreme Court curb the SEC, the courts may take this as a sign to stop entertaining the SEC and their law-breaking oversight and declare that Ripple is out and right the winners. And again, thanks to Ripple starting this revolution, the rest of the crypto industry can now stand up and fight them as well. New from Fox Business journalist Elena Terrett, Coinbase sues SEC and FDIC for information related to the crypto regulations. Coinbase is looking to shed light on what is described as a deliberate and concerted effort by the SEC and FDIC and other financial regulators to pressure banks to deny crypto firms access to the federal banking system, which is very, very big news. As Coinbase's Global Advisory Council member Keisha Bottom states in this interview, it is not often that you hear an industry asking for regulations, and this is necessary for the next step of evolution. The SEC needs to get out of the way or start playing ball. Take a listen.
As an opportunity for an evolution. And it's not often, and we heard this repeatedly during our time together yesterday, it's not often that an industry is asking for regulation. Coinbase is being a leader in asking for more regulation so that we can deliver to consumers those things that are needed most.
This whole video is proof to you just how close we are to this major shift in the financial markets. We are literally on the brink of a major shift, as institutional leaders are confirming right here from Cyprus, we can see. And once we get to this final verdict, the only next logical step is for these industries to start offering the XRP ETF. We can see from Smoke here, in order of interest at the current moment that is driving the ETF filings. First, of course, it is Bitcoin, then Ethereum, then Solana, and then it's XRP. Although the difference between third and fourth Solana and XRP is minimal. But me personally, I believe that XRP will likely leapfrog Solana and get the next ETF because institutional investors own cryptocurrencies that can use USD stablecoins, and the XRP ledger will soon have its own USD stablecoin, the RLUSD. But also because, again, this lawsuit, this final judgment is close. Once the final verdict is official, the US institutions will be green lighted for mass adoption of XRP in the United States, and the demand for XRP will skyrocket. With so many powerful partnerships with governments and central banks all across the world, just as Monica Long stated recently, it would be pretty sensible for someone to launch an XRP ETF. Do your own research and remember, don't look short term, think long term, and I'll see you in the next one.